He might not be welcome at Disney, but we are super psyched to welcome Spencer Charnas, vocalist for Ice Nine Kills, to Loudwire Nights this evening for the first time. I know you're from Boston, but is Charnas Latin?
No, I know there's a Latin American culture in Boston, but no, it's
All right, I'll spare you the Charnas I was going to give you. Oh,
yeah,
I guess I gave it to
no,
you anyway.
it's Russian in origin.
Oh,
But you can say Charnovsky if you want.
is that what it really is?
No, I was just that sounds like a composer or something.
Oh, Stoli Shnaya. All right, excellent. Got it. All right, let's talk about this Disney situation for a second, please. The band recently went through a little mini ordeal for the sake of our audience, because obviously I know this story. Why was Ice Nine Kills banned from playing Disney's House of Blues in Orlando?
So we were told that because of our violent imagery, we were not welcome at the Orlando stop of the tour. That particular venue is on Disney property, so they can kind of do whatever they want as far as banning any different act they want for whatever reason and really not give too much of an explanation.
So when you first heard the news, what was your initial thought?
I thought it was pretty funny. The only thing that bums me out about it is I love playing Orlando, so I was disappointed that we wouldn't get to play, but in all honesty, it was really kind of turned out to be a funny, cool thing because we ended up making some really funny T-shirts to sort of, just make fun of the whole thing and not really take it too seriously. So we made the shirts with our guy Mike Cortado, who does all of our artwork basically, and we put the characters that look like maybe they would be the Disney characters into horror icons, costumes, and situations.
Yeah, I saw that. It's tooevilforchildren.com. And the first thought I had was, they're going to sue your ass. And then the second thought I had was, damn, you turned that around quickly. Were you guys just scrambling to get that out?
Well, actually, we had heard probably a couple months ago that we wouldn't be on the show. Pretty much right after I heard, I had the idea, like, once it gets announced that we're not playing, this is what we should do. And, so we spent a little time getting the designs just right, and we were really happy with how they were received. Yeah. Disney hasn't called us yet. I was expecting a cease and desist order from them, but last time I talked to Minnie, she said that we should be all good. So I think they're over it.
Is she still hanging with Mickey, or has she dumped his ass yet?
Well, Minnie and I had a little thing back at Cabo in 2008, and I think that actually might be part of the reason why we were banned. He's a little bitter of a situation that happened in the lobby area. I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't really comment any further.
Cabo, tequila, animals, like things just happen. It just happens. What's funny to me is that this has happened on so many occasions with hard rock and metal bands on Disney properties. It almost seems like a PR thing. Like, I mean, after the 10th time that this occurs, whoever's booking should know to check out the music, pop in Silver Scream, Google a video or two. So I don't know. It's a little fishy.
Yeah, it's all a bit strange. I have a theory that they just look at the band's name, and if it has kills or die or something that sounds really horrible, then they investigate. But there are a bunch of other bands I'm not going to mention, but that are far more vulgar than us that just don't really have vulgar names. And they've managed to slip through the cracks. So that's my theory.
It's a good theory. I like that. All right, we'll move on. No more Disney talk. The band, literally known for their horror-inspired lyrics. So we have to talk about where this obsession began for you.
I've been obsessed with the horror genre ever since I was a little kid. It wasn't a situation where, like, an uncle or an older friend or an older sister was like, hey, you got to check out these movies. You're going to love them. It wasn't a situation like that. For whatever reason, I was drawn to it just on my own. So the birth of my whole love of horror came from killing time in an old school VHS store. In my town, in the supermarket, there was also a video store. So while my mom was shopping for our food for the household, I would just be in the video store, and for whatever reason, I spent my time in the horror aisle, and I would gaze upon the covers of Halloween and Friday the 13th and all these different slasher movies, and I just knew I needed to see these. And after a little bit of convincing my parents were cool enough to allow me to watch them. So I started from a very young age. I was probably 7 or 8 when I first saw Halloween.
So you went from admiring to, this is very, very cool, having the album release party at the original Michael Myers house. So does it look like it did in the movie? I mean, what was that like? And can one just reserve it for an event?
It was really cool, and it looks structurally exactly as it does in the film. There are sort of two Myers house looks in the original film. One is the decrepit one that you see, years after the murder of Judith Myers. And there's the one in the beginning, which is sort of the unfettered, clean version. And it looks more so like that one. We actually made a deal with the house that's adjoining to the Myers house, because the Myers house is now, I believe, a dental and a real estate office, which is pretty funny.
That sucks.
It's a bit off-brand. So we made a deal with this. It's really an art gallery that's attached to the Myers house, and they sort of set up the whole thing. They're called the Sugar Mint Gallery, and if you're ever in South Pasadena, I highly recommend going and checking out the stuff they have to offer. They've got a lot of never-before-seen behind-the-scenes photographs from the first film, some photos of, like, the wrap party after the first film where, like, 4 or 5 of the cast members are all wearing the Myers masks, jamming on acoustic guitars. And it's so cool to see those photographs, because they didn't know that they were making a classic horror movie at the time. You make a movie and you go on, you move on to the next one. Little did they know they were giving birth to a whole world of horror, and it's really cool to see.
Oh, God, you must have been in heaven. So I know you're like constantly talking about scary movies, so we're going to flip the script for just like 2.5 seconds. And I want to ask you, because I know you're a fan of just movies in general, what is the last movie that made you cry, and not out of fear?
Honestly, I've seen The Crow so many times, and it still gets to me. It probably sounds like a made-up story, but I was actually watching it last night because it was the 25th anniversary of the release of The Crow, and I was definitely tearing up at the end. Not only is it such a sad story, but just the whole, the whole idea that he literally died during the making of the film while he was filming his death scene. And I don't know, it always really gets to me, and it's just such wasted potential of what would have been such a huge film star in Brandon Lee, and that his life was cut so short, and how the story mirrors his actual death.
Coming back to horror, is there one that's made you cry that has nothing to do with anything scary?
I sometimes during the beginning of Weekend at Bernie's 2, there's something about the cinematography and Terry Kaiser's dramatic performance that moves me in a profound way.
Okay, sounds good. For those who are unfamiliar with the band's music, tell us about your latest record, Silver Scream.
The Silver Scream is a horror movie concept record where each track is based on a different one of my favorite horror films. And it was definitely the most interesting and exciting record I've ever had a hand in crafting, because, this is just subject matter that I'm so familiar with. I've dissected it and studied it so much over the years that I felt like I really am an expert for these films. And just being able to not only make the lyrical content mirror the story and kind of put our own spin on it, but doing things beyond just the film and creating my own dialogue and homaging the signature score of each film. It was just a real blast, and it was definitely one of the most rewarding experiences as a professional musician that I've ever taken part of.
So explain the video situation to me. You're rolling out videos. They're like mini movies that tie in together, right? So part 1, The American Nightmare. Thank God It's Friday is part 2. A Grave Mistake is 3. You know where I'm going with this, Stabbing in the Dark 4. So tell us about the vision behind these videos and how they connect to the music.
So from the inception of the record, I knew that we wanted to have a film counterpart that coincides with the music. So the initial vision came to me that, hey, we could make Ice Nine Kills a band in the movie. I play myself as Spencer, the singer of Ice Nine Kills, and I'm experiencing these dreams, and I seek help of a psychiatrist to navigate, my next move and how to really handle these and get my life back on track. And we've worked with a company for a long time called Little Sky Films, and my director, Daniel Horahan, and Slow Burn Productions. And he's just great at sort of taking my vision and really making it come to life, via cinematography and camera angles and really slick dialogue. And it was just exciting to make an overarching story that mirrors the songs on the album, but also gives our audience and our listeners and our fans another film and another story and other characters to latch onto. So in a way, we're making our own horror film.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be playing A Grave Mistake on the show this evening. So tell us about what inspired that track in particular and how it came together.
So A Grave Mistake was actually the first song that I wrote for the album. And also, I believe, one of the first songs I ever wrote on piano. I've always been a guitarist, and the birth of mostly all of our songs comes on an acoustic guitar, me just jamming around and playing with melodies and chord ideas. And for whatever reason, I just wanted to try experimenting with a keyboard. And I'm not a trained pianist by any means, but I went out and I got myself a keyboard, and that opening piano piece was like the first thing that came to me. And as I was playing it, I really liked where the melody was going, but then I was thinking, what horror movie can this really be like? Because it's dark, but it's also somber. It's tragic, but it's uplifting. And then that's when I had the idea, well, why don't we use The Crow, which traditionally you wouldn't think of as a horror movie in the traditional sense, but it definitely has horror and gothic elements. And I thought that it was the perfect movie rather, to make this melody, this somber melody, come to life.
I want to switch gears for a second. You guys have had quite a bit of turnover in the band as the sole original member. What does this do to you, like watching people exit and enter and recreating that comfort level with a new person time and again?
Yeah, it's always an interesting experience, but this lineup that we have going on now, I just feel so strongly that it's the strongest one we've ever had. Because you need, when you're touring with a group of people for a number of years, and you're in close quarters, you have to vibe with everyone, and if you don't, you can see that on stage. And this group of guys is just, they're so talented and great personalities, and I think it's the best lineup we've had.
But I feel like band members say that every time they have a lineup. Like, oh no, this is it. And then like a year later, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, probably. I guess we'll have to revisit that in a year.
Okay, we'll revisit in a year. I hope it is. Ice Nine Kills on the road till the 24th. In conclusion, what is on the horizon for the band? I know you guys are going to Europe.
Yeah, we've got some really cool stuff planned, which I can't really release just yet. Mm-hmm. But there will be some really exciting tour announcements very soon.
All right, fair enough. Can I just say, after really listening to a lot of your music, I feel like your band should be huge. That is my wish for you. And I don't ever really say that. Like, I don't think I've ever really said that. But wishing you great success. Spencer of Ice Nine Kills, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.